Okay, we are connecting. We are waiting for everybody to join us in the room, and we should be live at the moment. So, welcome everybody. My name is Ernst Baert. I am Dutch, but living in Belgium. That means that I know the world of hockey in Netherlands and Belgium from inside out. Other than that, I founded a website called thehockeysite.com, which is a platform for coaches worldwide to share knowledge, which means that on a daily basis, I am so lucky to talk with a lot of players, coaches, and all kinds of members from the hockey family from all over the world, which means that I pretty quickly found out that we live our game of hockey in a very different way throughout the world. We are a very diverse world, and we are a very diverse sport in the way that we live our sport throughout the world. But if we embrace that diversity, then we can all learn and grow from each other. And that is more or less the main goal, obviously, for today. Let me first give the floor to Mike Joyce here to welcome us all on behalf of FIH Academy. And then I will introduce all the participants to this panel, and we'll take it from there. Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ernst. And I guess I'll start with you. So thank you very much on behalf of the FIH Academy and to the Hockey Site for very kindly providing this AirMeet platform for us today, and also for hosting. You do it out of the kindness of your heart, I should add, and a true hockey lover and sort of connoisseur of indoor hockey as well. So perfect for this today. I feel that there's a little bit of an indoor hockey renaissance going on at the moment, and it's a spectacular and exciting format at a performance level, and then it's a simple and effective introduction to hockey at a grassroots level. There's lots of myths around the challenges of how we introduce it, both at a national, international, and local level, and I think hopefully today we can bash some of those myths and show you that actually wherever you are, whatever you're doing, there's an opportunity to introduce indoor hockey. So I won't introduce everyone because Ernst's going to do that, but I'll just say again on behalf of FIH Academy, thank you to them for giving up their time and talking with us today and sharing the fantastic work that they do in various different formats, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector. So thank you very much to you all. Wish you a fun and interesting next sort of hour or so. So back to you, Ernst.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. I'm going to kick you off stage now, so we'll have some more room for the other speakers. So bye-bye, Mike. If you have anything to add, you can always come back on stage, obviously. Let me quickly explain to the people who are in the audience. You will see that you have two buttons below your screen, a smiley face and a hand. With the smiley face, you can show the appreciation for what you just heard on the stage here, or disapproval, or just show the emotion there. With the raised hand, you can raise your hand to ask a question and really come on camera on stage with us to ask a question. For the people who are too shy to come on stage with us, we obviously also have the chat to the right of the window here, where you can ask your questions, and we will bring those questions on screen and have those answered by the appropriate people at that time. So make this an interactive talk as much as possible. Don't be shy. Share your questions with us, and that's the moment to ask all the questions to these wonderful people when they have talked about their project. Sorry. We are going to talk to different people who have hosted or are hosting or will host several indoor hockey projects. Some from a national association, some from a commercial point of view, but all from very different angles and from different starting moments, just to show you what the possibilities are to make something happen around indoor hockey for your club, for your country, for your region, for your team, whatever the case might be in your situation. So let's first start with Alistair Cox. Alistair, we're going to bring you on stage. Alistair is the director of facilities, the manager of the facilities for the FIH. So he's going to talk to you about all the needs around facilities for indoor hockey and all the possibilities there. And let me start off maybe with a question directly to you, Alistair, and maybe put you on the spot immediately as well, because indoor hockey, why does it need to be indoor?
That's a really good question, and I see no need at all for it to be played indoors. It can be played on any suitable area. So that's a nice lead into. I've got a couple of slides that I'm going to share the screen. I will apologise in advance if anybody hears any construction noises in the background. I'm at home and we're having a new kitchen fitted as we speak. So I'm trying to blank it out, but I apologise if you hear a bit of background noise. But let me share my screen. If somebody can confirm when this screen appears. Perfect. I think, can you see that now? Lovely, thank you. So let's start off with the question you asked, Ernst. You can play indoor hockey indoors or outdoors, or maybe in between the two, where you have some sort of temporary roof structure over the top, maybe in an air dome or a frame fabric building, maybe some sort of a shelter over your outdoor hockey field during the winter months. But the basic requirements, you need an area that is something between 44 and 22 meters in size. That's the recommended size. You can go down to, we recommend, the rules of indoor hockey recommend that the minimum size is 36 by 18, but I do know people use slightly smaller areas as well. So a range of sizes that will allow you to accommodate indoor hockey in traditional sports halls, certainly sports halls in Europe. The area is similar to that used for handball, for futsal, for many, many other sports played in a typical sports hall, school gymnasium, leisure centre, whatever it may be. We recommend that you have a margin around the outside of the playing area for players' protection, so they don't run immediately into a wall or some sort of structure. And again, the recommendation is 3 meters at either end and 1 meter at either side. I know people use less, but I think that should only be done if you can sort of justify that in terms of a risk assessment to ensure that the players are not going to be injured if they do run into a structure. In terms of the flooring, that's clearly very important. The key thing is that the floor or the sports surface should be smooth with no ridges or wrinkles. We don't want the ball lifting off the surface when it hits an edge or a step in the surface. The flooring can be anything from painted concrete upwards. If you're in a sports hall, it's likely to have some form of impact absorbing surface, and that's probably preferable because it provides a bit more comfort and protection to the players, particularly if they fall over. And whilst indoor hockey is meant to be, in theory, a non-contact sport, players will inevitably knock into each other. People will fall over in the heat of a game. So providing a bit of protection to them is certainly justified. I think one thing that I get asked a lot, and it is a consideration, is that particularly on highly polished floors, timber flooring, etc., there is a risk that the hockey sticks will scuff the surface. That can be an issue for some venue operators, particularly when they've got a high quality facility, maybe where basketball particularly is the primary sport. They like a highly polished gloss finish. They might be upset if the hockey sticks start marking it. So just be aware that when you're selecting venues, that inevitably there will be some surface damage potentially. It won't be significant, but visually it can be an issue to people, and that can impact on them, allowing you to return.
Do you have, if you allow me, Alistair, do you have a solution for that? So in the case that you have a perfect venue, but you have a difficult floor, what could be a possible solution there?
Ultimately, if it's a temporary facility, if you're looking to host a tournament or something, I would suggest maybe overlaying the normal floor with a portable covering. That could be some sort of vinyl sheeting that comes in rolls. That's what we have done at the last few Indoor World Cups, for example. The advantage of that is as well, you then end up with a floor that only has the indoor hockey markings. So you haven't got the multiple volleyball, basketball, badminton, etc., etc. So it makes it a much cleaner venue, which just visually is more appealing. Probably gives a bit of impression for the sport. It's a better spectacle for sponsors, etc., etc. Some of the marks will polish out as well, depending on the type of flooring. I think the timber flooring is probably the most susceptible to damage. You will get scuff marks if you have some sort of vinyl type flooring, but they can be buffed out with good maintenance, good cleaning. But it just increases the logistics of organising the event, of hosting an event. And as I say, it's the negativity in people's minds that I think is the biggest problem, that the venue operator is going to be really cautious about that potentially. As I say, in terms of the flooring, there's a wide range of products out there. Vinyl flooring, timber flooring, plastic tiles that clip together. They're all perfectly satisfactory, providing you've got a good base structure to lay them on. That's the key thing. At the moment, from an FIH point of view, we have our quality program where we endorse and have standards for the quality of the outdoor surfaces used on the 11-a-side fields. I hope to expand that to provide some guidance for indoor flooring as well, so we can start endorsing suitable products that the people can buy with a little more confidence that is actually a surface that is suitable for indoor hockey. So that's something on the work program for this year. Mm-hmm. Moving on, you obviously need 2 goals to play the game. The goal sizes are smaller than the 11-a-side goals. So obviously you can't just bring in a set of hockey goals from the local club or what have you. The goals are 3 meters by 2 meters with a 1 meter. They're 1 meter deep. If they are used specifically for indoor hockey, they will probably have back and sideboards, and they would be 460 millimeters, 0.46 of a meter in depth. But they are not essential. They're recommended, but it's not essential. And as you can see in the bottom picture on the screen, that is actually a handball goal. So you can, if handball is popular in your country, you can share and use the handball goals. Obviously, they don't have the backboards. I suppose the only downside is with a handball goal is that repeated impacts of the ball is going to put more stress onto the nets. So you might again find people complaining that the nets need replacing more frequently than normal. There are portable goals or collapsible goals that fold together, so it makes storage very convenient. So storage is always a big issue in sports halls and gymnasium. So flat pack goals is certainly worth considering if you're looking at that particular type of venue. One thing I would emphasize is that the goals need to be either anchored to the floor, attached to the walls, or weighted to make sure that they are stable and cannot fall over if players run into them or collide with them. These goals are quite heavy. There have been injuries both in indoor hockey and other sports where people have collided with a goal. The goal has toppled forward and then caused quite serious injuries. So we would emphasize the need to ensure that the goals you're using are used in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. It might make life a little more complicated in terms of setting them up, but I wouldn't wish to neglect the need to do that. Within the quality program, we do already have indoor hockey goals. So we have some standards that we have developed that are based on the rules of indoor hockey, but we've taken it further to ensure that the quality of the materials used to make the goals, the stability of the goals, etc., are all as good as they can be. the manufacturers are required to have good manufacturing quality control and to offer warranties that we consider appropriate for the life of the product. So there are manufacturers of indoor hockey goals who have their products endorsed by the FIH. You can find the details on our website. The link is at the bottom left-hand side of my screen. And we would encourage you, if you're buying goals specifically for indoor hockey, to buy goals that meet our standards. Likewise, down the sides of the playing area, you need the sideboards. They're 100 by 100. Ideally, they're tapered on the inside edge so that the ball doesn't lift up vertically. It's contained to reduce the risk of the ball striking the players. And as with the goals, we have set some standards to try and ensure good quality boards enter the market, and they have our endorsement. But we recognise that many people will make their own boards. It can be blocks of timber, it can be aluminium section, it can be a composite. There's a multitude of different ideas out there. They all work. Some are better than others. Some are clearly more expensive than others. You tend to pay for what you get. Again, I would say storage of the boards can be an issue. So having them in relatively short sections that can be stacked on a trolley for easy storage is worth considering. So just consider that again, because as you can see in the picture, it's a reasonable sized area that you need to store those boards. So putting them into a storage area is always going to be a challenge when you've got all the other sports equipment. Just a little bit on some of the other questions I get asked, typically both from a recreational but also from a competition point of view. Ideally, the height between the floor and the ceiling should be at least 7.5 meters. It's only a recommendation. It's not essential, but I think we want to just make sure that the area does not feel too oppressive. So a low ceiling height is not great. 7.6 meters seems to be a very typical height for sports hall gymnasium, certainly again across the whole of Europe. So that should find lots of venues for to use. And in terms of lighting, we have set different lighting standards for the different levels of play. These are very, very similar to what is used, again, by a multitude of other indoor sports. So we're not asking anything for very specific for indoor hockey. It's just fitting in with the other sports. I think with indoor sports, the one thing I would say is the positioning of the lights is quite important. What you don't want, is particularly for the goalkeepers, is to be having a light shining directly into their faces so they're dazzled. So depending where you are in the world, we do find that certain sports will take priority, and you might find the lighting is designed for badminton. The badminton courts will be lying at 90 degrees to the indoor hockey court, so the position of the lights can be a bit challenging. So just give that a little bit of consideration. We are just introducing lighting into our quality program as well. So we have lighting companies who will be able to provide expertise on indoor and outdoor lighting. And finally, we have produced a guide that summarizes all the information I've just given and goes into a lot more detail. Hopefully that will answer any questions people have in the longer term about what is required for an indoor hockey facility. It's a long link there. Once I've kicked off the stage, I will copy that link and put it into the chat. And
good idea.
I'm assuming that if people want, Mike or Andre will share these few slides with everybody following the webinar today. So that's everything from me. If there's any questions on the facilities, I'm happy to take them. If not, I will let you get onto the main thing, is actually playing the game. Now you've got the floor to play on.
Absolutely. So, first you need the infrastructure. So without the floor, without the goals, without everything, we can't do anything. So thanks for showing us the possibilities there, Alistair. If anybody has a question for Alistair, now is the time. But at the end of the talk, we can also round up the questions and get back to this particular part. So, but then for now, I am going to kick you off stage, and we are going to bring on some of the others here, and we are going to talk about the possibilities that we have throughout different nations. So, Madeline, I do not know if you're having connection problems. There you are. Perfect. Good. Okay, Alistair, thanks very much for your presentation here. I'm going to kick you off stage for the moment. And if anything is asked in your direction, I will bring you back on so that we can revisit that topic of the infrastructure that is needed there. So, but let's first now start talking about, the people who have done projects and who have created projects around indoor hockey. And we just heard Alistair talk about the needs that we have when it comes to a competitive environment, and then obviously there are several more stringent needs towards infrastructure. But we can start off pretty basic and pretty simple with lots of other possibilities as well. And I think, Nacho, that you have some great examples to show us and a great story to tell us. So let me first introduce the four of you here, and then Nacho, I will start with maybe your story and your project. So Nacho Uzos is the head coach for Complutense, a club in Madrid in Spain. A club where it's typical European-style family club. But what makes it specific is that everybody at that club plays both outdoor and indoor hockey. So, but we'll hear all about his project and his story in a little while. We've got Ross Willis on stage here, who is at the moment in Ireland, but he is also working for PSI, and PSI is a South African organization. Well, it started off in South Africa, where it launched indoor hockey and created quite a buzz around indoor hockey for that country. But they've moved international. So there are PSI projects now in the UK, in Ireland, and trying to get into mainland Europe as well. But we'll hear more about your project in a little while. We've got Will Davey from the UK, Operations Director for Indoor Hockey UK, who basically, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong a little bit later now, Will, but took over indoor hockey from the National Association and just made it happen in England. And we've got Malin Hubner from USA Field Hockey, Director of Events for the National Association in the US, who's going to talk to us about some of the amazing events that they did in the past and are launching at the moment as well again. Indoor festivals and indoor competitions that really surprised me. So will be really interesting to hear your story. But let's start with Nacho. Nacho, Complutense. It's a relatively small, family-oriented, typical Spanish hockey club. What makes it special for the world of indoor hockey? Don't forget to unmute, Nacho.
Yes, hello. I think we love indoor hockey because it is in our roots. Our club began a lot of years ago in an elementary school by a priest, is Fray Pedro Tapia, in the school that he received the National Association people who want to show hockey, and he fall in love with hockey and he put every children in the school to play hockey like 60 years ago. So he only had a outdoor pitch with the sideboards and he put everyone to play in school, and he had a hockey team in each class of each course of the school, and from then it began to grow the club, and we begin to participate in the other competitions. But we put this model of make grow the hockey in other places in Madrid, and we cannot wait that children comes to our club, and we go to the schools, to the elementary schools, to make that all the children could play hockey. here in Spain or in Madrid, there's not a lot of water-based pitches. So, but in the schools, in every little school, in every little town, you can find a pitch, outdoor pitch with the measures of an indoor hockey pitch. So we can make two sessions per week with a group of children, and we only need 10 children for create a hockey school in a school. So we put hockey in different schools in different points of Madrid, and then if they want to play more seriously, they can inscribe in the club and go 1 day per week to the club and the weekends to play hockey. So we are making hockey 2 times per week in the school and 2 times per week in the club. So it's a way to make grow up the club.
Yeah. Can you tell me the way that you introduced it to school, are those the trainers from the club that go to a school and give the training, or just do an introduction and then the school PE teachers take over?
No, they are trainers for the club. Usually they are players of the first teams. That they have a basic training license, and they go to the schools, and we pay a little help for they are young people who introduce the basics of hockey. And also the local association of Madrid have a program of indoor hockey at schools, and they provide us with public money for help to these coaches.
Yeah, because then obviously the first question when you start projects like this is, how do you finance this? Yeah. Where do you get the money from?
Yeah. This is a key point, and but also when you go to other schools with our background and you show the program, a lot of the schools are interested in put some budget and or usually we provide of the material, the sticks and the balls. We provide is like a investment of the club for the future. So we put like 10 or 15 sticks and balls, and players can they haven't to buy one for one class. They can practice 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they decide to buy his own stick. So it's a little investment for big benefits.
Complutense, can you tell us a little bit? Is this a big club? Is this a rich club? So how do you make this possible?
It's not a rich club. It's a club with like in a family economy. We have looking for its coin and its money that comes inside and go outside. But we try to go to all the competitions and to be the more competitive since we are in the lower levels. We don't have an own club. We rent a public pitch in San Sebastián de los Reyes and here in Madrid, and we try to practice in the schools and rent. We have to look very with a lot of care how many times we rent the pitch, the public pitch for our big budget of the year. So we make a lot of practice in the schools.
How many schools? How many kids are involved in your program at the moment?
We have we are 400 players in all the club. Probably 100 are seniors and 300 are in schools. We are in 5 elementary schools at this moment, and not all the kids that are playing in the elementary schools go to the club, but almost all when they are under 12, almost all continue with the club.
Okay, great. What are if let's say, okay, I run my own club, or if I have a couple of teams and somewhere else in Europe or wherever in the world, and I have a couple of schools around me. What are and I want to copy your project. What are the things that I have to take care of, and what are the difficulties, and what are the tips that you can give for somebody who wants to copy a project like yours?
For me, the first is the passion. You have to be disposed to jump around over all the obstacles that it appears in front of you. And the other is for me the idea that you can practice hockey everywhere. And for me, it's a very powerful idea. Probably you cannot play a indoor World Cup in anywhere, but you can put inside every kid the hockey passion in any pitch. I want to show for me the better example of the pitch of one of our schools that
cool.
Probably it helps to me to
share the screen and show me the picture, because I know that you're going to show us a very cool hockey pitch, which will show that you can start playing indoor hockey at any kind of an environment, any kind of a pitch. You just need the passion to get the thing started there.
I cannot. I don't know if because I have some with the.
You have a problem sharing?
Yeah, I have a problem to.
Okay, then we'll share the picture that you want to share. We'll share that later on in the WhatsApp in the chat group here. So we'll share a link so that you can see what he's made. But just to describe it, this is just a pitch that is a handball pitch or a futsal, a multi-sport pitch, but very small, with walls all around you, and you have a tree in the middle of your pitch, and you can still play hockey there.
I don't know if maybe now.
There we go. Yeah, we're seeing your screen.
Yeah. So this is the hockey pitch. As I put there, it's no sideboards, only the wall. You can rebound the ball in the wall if you want. There is only 15 meters of wide and 35 of long. You have a tree in the middle, as you can see, and it doesn't matter if the ball fall here and you restart. The player who restart is the first player who got the ball, and from here we get almost all of our first team players actually. So it doesn't matter that it's a small pitch because they have like inconvenience but some benefits. Here the players are touching the ball every time, so the ball is not going in another way. So I think you can you can play and you can teach to the guys and a lot of basic skills in this kind of pitches. Here's another school in Madrid, Colegio Valdeluz. Valdeluz School is one of the most important hockey clubs or schools in Spain. As I put there, there are 8 Olympic players and 2 silver medalists that start to play hockey in this court. This is an outdoor-indoor pitch, but it has sideboards and it's quite better than the other.
Natural, we're still seeing the first picture, so you maybe need to switch to the second slide, or
what?
We're still seeing the first slide here.
You only see the first?
We see your PowerPoint screen.
Okay. So, sorry.
No problem. We'll get there. I think that the main why you try and fix that the main message that we should all take from this is that the biggest enemy of getting things done is perfection. We don't need a perfect pitch. We don't need a perfect situation to get projects started. If you have a pitch, if you have a field where you can play, even with Valdeluz. So even if you have a pitch that is maybe not perfect for international competition, but you can play hockey there, then you can get started, and even the big hockey players will come from there. Nacho.
Yes, I don't know. You see now the Valdeluz.
Yes.
That it is better than the other that I saw before, and because you have the sideboards, you have the correct goals and the correct measures of the pitch, but also it's an outdoor court, and someone could say you that you cannot play when it's rain. Okay, but we're in Spain, so we have not that problem with so often than in other countries or in other cities. So this is, for me, this is like a temple of hockey, because most of my favorite players in the history are from this pitch. 8 Olympic players in the last 9 Olympic Games, 2 silver medalists, and 24 years national champions. So for me, it's a very special venue of hockey, and for a lot of people in Spain who knows that this school. But this is not all in our club. We also this is only for start with the children and for the first step of the development. But we also have another card of indoor card. I don't know if you see the next slide.
Not yet. No, you have to switch it again.
Maybe, I don't know why.
No problem.
This is the university court. I don't know if you can see now.
We're still seeing the Valdeluz.
Oh, okay. So I don't know.
No problem. Just talk about it.
Yeah, that our first teams, of course, they have to practice in good pitches. So we have to rent and we have to ask for another official another card that you can play in official games of national competitions, and of course I want to show, but I don't know if you are if you can see now.
Yes.
Okay. This is our first team in the official court of our university. As you can see, it's a very good wood floor and with all the facilities and all the requirements for elite players. So probably we cannot make that every players enjoy this kind of pitches, but we can do that every players enjoy hockey, and this is the main goal for us.
No, absolutely. Great story, Nacho. And what I always take from the story, and I heard it before now, is that you can start playing hockey on any kind of an environment, on any kind of a pitch, and still become a top player in the end, if that is your goal. But the main goal here is to get the passion of playing hockey to as many children as possible, and from there, let grow the game. But don't wait for the perfect situation. Just find a pitch where you can make it happen. And I think that's a very cool story, Nacho. So thanks for that. Let's move on to possibly a completely different story. Madeline, in the US, you've seen well, you've taken some big approaches there. So it's a completely different project, obviously from Nacho. But tell us a little bit about the Indoor Hockey Festival and all the events that you're launching.
Yeah, for sure. But first of all, good morning, everybody from Virginia Beach. I'm here for our indoor season tour. We start off with our National Indoor Festival, which is a new concept that we created in order to capture as many different age divisions as possible and really create more of a unified experience for everybody. We at USA Field Hockey think it's really important to aspire young athletes. So to have, U10s see adults compete or U19 athletes compete. I know that our divisions and groupings differ a little bit than everybody else's, but we do, we have U10s, U12s, and those are the only divisions that are co-ed. After that age division, we do break it up to go to U14s. There we find that boys and girls, the level of play is just different. So that's when we do separate the age divisions. And then we have U16 girls, U19 girls, U19 boys. So basically the U14 to U19 category for boys is open. And then men's and women's divisions. So we're really excited and we're very pleased that we could be able to, provide this opportunity this year because there is a need and definitely a desire for more indoor hockey. So yeah, that's the first thing we got going on this weekend, as well as our U14 tournament, which is a combo happening somewhere else in Pennsylvania. That's just going to be just shy of 200 teams. And I can show you, and this is why I'm here. I do want to show you guys, the magnitude of these events that we deal with. It's truly a production.
It's big.
And for everybody to be involved, and then, just to try to get as many people from across the nation into field hockey is, what we want to do. And I know that this is me being really non-tech savvy. So hopefully everybody can see this picture on their screen. But this is just one court that our U14 girls will be playing on this weekend. And of course, now here goes internet issues. There's some.
There are the girls.
Yep, some youngins, some umpires. Here's just again, this is a co-ed. This is for a co-ed division. So opportunity for both boys and young girls to play. This is a kind of a side view. So you have a court here to the left, and you have a court here to the right, and then there's a couple other courts way down there. We throw these bow nets in there just in case a ball does come skyrocketing, off those boards. Here's a good overview of the facility, and you can see that we allow, for spectators up above. That is about, I want to say, at least 15 feet up. So there's not going to be, any balls that are going up. Actually technically 20 feet with where people's heads are, because there is, a fence along the upper mezzanine as well. This is in Spooky Nook in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They run multiple events. They have their own club there as well. And we're fortunate that we have, a good relationship with them, that we are able to, have this event there. And yeah, so you can see there's a bunch of different lines on the court. Red is ours, obviously. But again, just a nice side view of the area that we're working with. There's one more. Now let's see if we can get, and here is our next upcoming event, and I can take a quick pause. So the other events that we deal with are the U16 and U19 divisions, and those are qualification only events. So that happens around December into January across the United States, where clubs are able to go to qualifying events, qualify, and then move on to the national tournament, which takes place in February, and U16s is the beginning of March.
So the final part of that is in a central location where everybody comes together.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So U19s are currently in Richmond, Virginia. So I will mosey on up over after this event this weekend for next weekend's event, which is the U19s. And U19s is not just girls. We do have men and women playing there as well. And the U19 boys division. The boys and young men, I should say, really want to play where the men are playing, because it leads for good coaching, it leads for just good watching and collaboration, as well as we have a huge amount of college recruiting that happens at this event. So we have college coaches that want to pick up a stick and play. So the U19 men, women's and adults, or just the adult division at the U19 event, is open. So you do not need to qualify for that. So we kind of just leave it as a free for all. And it's usually a fun atmosphere. We are in the works of doing our own adult national indoor club championship. But that is, still very much in the pipe. So not to fruition yet, but that is the next step for us. But I can show you guys a little bit more about the U19 facility in Richmond. Oops. I hope you guys can still see that. Nope, I exited that. Sorry about that. So this facility in itself is insane, solely because it's a building that we build out from scratch. So we come in, we lay down the I'm blanking on the word, but it's like,
the flooring.
Yeah, the insulation that goes underneath the flooring. So literally the insulation needs to come down. Then you have to put, then stack your sport court out and lay it all together, piece it out. Then you have to line the court. Then you have to put the boards together. Then you have to assemble the goals. Then you have to, put up the back netting. And
that's a big production.
Yes, it is. So you can see here, we've upgraded our trussing system for sure, as to, what we were speaking with earlier, to have when balls do ricochet off netting, that is the number one thing that we've found has been an issue. So to upgrade that option, you'll see like this blue right between these two young boys is actually like a huge cylinder block. And that is the weight that we need to put on to make sure that those things don't fall over. Because we literally have, these courts back to back, just to get as many in as we can. The max that we have.
Just to give us an idea also of the size of these kinds of events, how many pitches are there? How many teams, how many players are there?
Yep. So for all our indoor events now, we are running on 9 courts. It used to be 8. But with the current schedule system that we were working with, we, said, wow, if we added 1 more court, we would be done in like 2 hours early. Wouldn't that be great? Because we really go from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock. It is a long day for all these athletes, these umpires, and, for our staff internally. So and even coaches that are there to recruit. So to make it a better event and overall feel, we have added an additional court to allow for that. The indoor season itself, we probably see over 1,000 teams. But for the national indoor events specifically in the National Indoor Festival, we're just over 600. It's still a lot. The biggest one is the U14, which is happening this weekend. That takes place over 4 days, and that's 196 teams. Wow. We have done 210 teams in the past. However, that was when I was first starting, and I said, let's go big. And it made for very long days. So yeah, across the country, but I would say 2/3 of our clubs, the active USA field hockey clubs, do participate in indoor, which is great. But we do still have, some clubs that just don't do indoor. They like to focus on outdoor. And that kind of depends on their geographical area. Indoor for the United States is a lot more East Coast central. Whereas, people out in California and other places, they don't really have the indoor facilities, but to our point, you don't really need indoor to play indoor. But yeah, so some people just choose to focus a little bit differently. Again, depends on all the facilities that they have available. And say for Chicago, for example, you would not want to play indoor, outdoor. So rentals and stuff like that can be difficult. I know COVID has definitely pushed a lot of people off the indoor track and to just focus on, what is their next step for, their club. And unfortunately, we don't have indoor for college or university. So for the most part, to focus on outdoor does theoretically make the most sense. However, indoor can be successful and you can, compete internationally if you stick with it.
Absolutely. What are the goals for hosting these kinds of events and tournaments? Do you grow your clubs from this? Do you grow your association from this? Or
so mainly it comes so USA Field Hockey is a nonprofit. So all of these events that take place, these massive scale events, they go right back to our national programming to go help, Team USA and, our men's and women's teams. So that is the end all. But to do that, membership revenue needs to increase. So to have athletes be members of USA Field Hockey, that helps in this category. For just participating in an event, that helps boost it up in another category. So for when it all comes down to the delivering of a national indoor tournament or the national indoor festival, it really is those team registration that, ends up helping. But in regards to, what is the benefit for running a tournament? It's basically a sanctioned event sponsored by us. So you want to host a qualifier, say in Nebraska, you would reach out to us and say, hey, I'm interested in hosting a qualifier. These are the facilities that I have. And we would do our best to try to work with you and set up an actual tournament. So that way you can, have a competition platform for your athletes, as well as invite people in and expose the game of indoor hockey to your area. So then there's a couple more pictures. This is just a side view of that Richmond complex. Here's a big overview. And you'll see we bring in these really big bleachers. This is, the limited people right here. So it's either the 9 p.m. game or it's the 7 a.m. game.
Possibly.
Yeah. So
no, but the cool thing that my takeaway from this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that you are actually using these indoor events to generate money for the association to fund other projects. So right. it's that's also a possibility. Use it to make money and to create budgets for other projects of development of the game. And I think that's a very cool example here.
Yep. And we definitely don't limit our try to limit our athletes either. We've done a lot of things to help accommodate teams, that are still starting out and starting to get into the sport of indoor. I mean, that's, why we really do push for the U10, U12s and that U14 division just to be completely open. You don't have to qualify, so that we can start at a younger age to then help get you to that next tier.
Cool. We had one of our guests with a raised hand, Dinesh. I don't know, you are on stage now. Can you put on your camera if you have a question, or was that a mistake? Not seeing you come on. So then we'll move on from here. What are if you're doing it big like you're doing here, Madeline? What were the difficulties that you encountered, and if you want to set up something like this in another country, what would your tips be?
I would say start small, then grow big. Definitely don't shoot for the moon right off the bat. There is a lot of different things that come into play that you might not necessarily think about until it's upon you. Our biggest challenges is just working with, all these different states, especially during COVID times. That's been difficult because, there's state restrictions for traveling. But the travel is the main problem and hardship that we really work with, because you have to make so many different accommodations for people that are coming in and out, as well as, umpiring. I'm sure that's, we've talked about that before. That is a huge thing right now. COVID has really changed the umpiring world. So we at USA Field Hockey are super, super aware of the situation and how we can adapt. And, you and I had this conversation with Steve Horgan, our director of umpiring, yesterday, and I said, we really can't have field hockey without umpires. So you can't have a game. So however we can support and grow that, that area, I think will help make people be successful. Because if you have well-qualified umpires and you can, run a very well executed tournament with that, then, you've got everything that you need to do to play hockey.
Absolutely. I'm amazed to see the size of these events, and to be honest, if as a typical European, when I think about hockey in the US, we think it's only being played by girls in high schools and college. That's not the case, as you clearly shown here. And do these festivals, and do they add to the growth of the clubs as well? Do they get the people enthusiastic?
It gives them another route of playing. So if you don't qualify, or if you're just not ready to be a part of the big, show, this gives an excellent outlet for people to just kind of take a baby step into field hockey, still come to a USA Field Hockey event and support our programming. And then, it's just small baby steps. So that is the goal of the NIF for sure, or National Indoor Festival. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got Mohammed here joining us on stage. Mohammed, do you have a question for us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, right. I just want to ask, okay, let's see, because I saw the picture of your pictures, so many pitch inside one place. So
Yes.
let's say when you organize and tournaments at the same time. So is it will be any interruption from the other pitches when the the umpires, let's say they blow the whistle? Is it it will interrupt other pitch at the same time? Yep, that's all.
So, no, that's a great question. And if I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about, having side-by-side pitches and having umpires' whistles, and how does that affect each game? For the most part, at least in the older divisions, we don't seem to have any issues with understanding what a foul is. And, but for the younger divisions, yes, U10s, U12s, and U14s, they're still learning the game. So they might not actually know what the umpire is calling them for. So they might, just be a little, whistle deaf, if you will. But we do have umpires use different whistles on different courts for those younger divisions. So they have, I believe they're called tweeters. So they have like the choo-choo type whistle sound. So we do stagger those out, particularly at the younger divisions. But for the older ones, and really, the umpires might reconvene at halftime and say, "Hey, are you finding that's difficult for the players are not responding to your whistles?" And they're like, "Yes, okay, let's swap them out." So that is something on standby that umpires do need to be cognizant of. But for the most part, it's not. It's just overwhelmingly loud in general in there, because you hear the boards, you hear the cheering of the fans. Coaches yelling. It's very much a huge atmosphere, but having the different whistles is certainly something I would suggest, especially if you're going to go very close. But for the most part, the only things that are close are in the older divisions, and that's when they're, it's just a back-to-back goal, not necessarily sideline to sideline. And for that other tournament where you saw the sideline to sideline, there's still a good 20-foot gap in between there that is manageable.
Mm-hmm. Hope that answered your question, Mohammed. If not, just let me know. Anybody else got some questions here? We've got a question here. No, great. Thanks for the answer. So perfect. Gonna remove you from stage again. Madeline, very, very cool story. So if anybody has some questions for Madeline, jump on, and otherwise we are now crossing the big pond again, and we are moving to the UK. Will, can you tell us a little bit about the organization of Indoor Hockey UK?
Yeah, so we started back in 2004 as a private organisation. The person who started it, his son wanted to play indoor for his birthday. There was no opportunity to do it. He didn't want a football party, he wanted an indoor hockey party, so they made one. From there, it became a yearly event, and it just grew and grew and grew. And as you started inviting more and more clubs, they wanted additional age groups added, they wanted more games. So I think we started off at under 12 boys, one pitch, and then we've grown to 12 different age groups over 3 pitches, 4 days. And so we've grown quite a lot over the few years.
Absolutely. But so you are a private organization. You're not a part of the National Association.
No, we are a private organisation who do our own thing. There's quite big gaps. So obviously the national governing bodies tend to do under 16 and under 18 and adults indoor. So there's this opportunity at the younger age groups to kind of fill the gaps where it's not necessarily being done elsewhere. So we work alongside the governing bodies.
Okay, great. And so now you organize these events, or are these tournament like, or just a couple of days, or how do you set these up?
So our biggest event, our championships, take place between Christmas and New Year, 4 days. I say over 3 pitches, starting at 9 in the morning, finishing at 10 at night, similar to what they're doing in America, just a bit smaller. And so that's our big one. That's how it all started. We've then started rolling out more because people said we can't make that tournament. We want opportunity to play near us. So we launched our, we call it the Derby Grand Slam, which we took it to Derby Arena. And again, it's another 3-pitch venue where we get different clubs enter, because obviously it's our championships are down south. The Grand Slam is up in the Midlands. And so we're looking to move them to get more local, to give more people the opportunity to play. I think that's kind of what we want to aim for, is give people the opportunity to get involved, and I think they will take it.
Wonderful. And are these teams from regular clubs, teams from regular schools, or just teams that are put together for the event itself?
A mixture.
A mixture.
So we don't have really that many rules for our competitions. We just want people to play indoor and give them the chance to play. So a lot of the teams are clubs, but we have schools enter, and then we also have these random people say we want to play, but our club don't want to enter. So then we'll collect them all together, make our own team, and enter that as a team into the competition. So people want to play, let's give them a chance to play is kind of what we aim for.
Oh, absolutely. Same question that I asked Nacho also in the beginning, and same that we saw with Madeline also. Finance obviously is a big issue. How do you pre-finance those things? Because you have to rent space, you have to provide a lot of equipment in order to get these things started. How do you finance these events?
So when we first started, obviously the person who organised it, they put a lot of money into it. So they ended up buying 3 sets of rebound boards for the side of the pitches and all of this. So a lot of money has been invested into it. Mm-hmm. We're also fortunate that he has a warehouse, so we store all the equipment for free in a warehouse off-site, which means we can move it to different sports centres, and we can kind of find the cheapest and the best to kind of make the events work. So for the first 10, 12 years, we did make a loss, and we managed to get a sponsor to kind of cover the loss we made. But recently we started making a profit and breaking even. So it's onwards and upwards.
Absolutely. How are you dealing with the COVID issues in these difficult years?
So the first year we obviously had one event cancelled, which was unfortunate. We put lots of time into planning it, but obviously it just couldn't go ahead. We held one in December just gone, even though there was lots of concern from lots of people. But we found it was more parents and spectators who were more concerned than the players and the coaches. I think we had 2 teams out of 150 drop out. So because of the COVID concern, everyone else was quite happy. Obviously, we had to invest a little bit more money into hand gels and all of the COVID protocols we had to put into place. But it was worth it in the end, and it kind of went really well. And I say, hopefully, moving forward, we won't have that worry anymore.
No, let's hope that we move in the right direction there. So, what are, if you would go, what are the biggest successes that you've encountered in the pathway from over a couple of years of setting up these events?
Biggest success, it's just kind of the growth. I think, as I said, people want to play indoor, and if you give them the chance, they will take it. I keep talking about players, but obviously we've kind of got good relationships with the umpiring and officiating as well, because there's not that many opportunities. they're quite happy to come on board and help and work with us. We work closely with England Hockey Umpiring. We organised one of the only umpiring courses for indoor in the country, because there's no kind of official course. It's kind of, most other places just chuck them onto the pitch and get on with it, which can be quite scary for some people. So we have we've made our own little background course that we run. We do young umpire development as well, because we find if we get it involved with the young people early on, when they then move through the age groups, it grows with it. So the most recent age groups we've added are adults and the adults, men and women, because they are now the people who used to play in our competition when it first started. They've now grown and they want to play in it. So it means we've kind of naturally expanded.
Wow, cool. So from starting from wanting to organize a birthday party with some indoor hockey to today, what are the numbers? Okay, birthday party, I'm guessing 12 kids.
Yeah, something like that. So it was probably it was an invitational, so it was local teams, so 3 or 4 teams across one age group. We've now got 150 teams we can accommodate in the competition, in our 4-day competition. But we had another 100 on the wait list in case someone dropped out. So, and then our derby event, which we've got coming up in June, this is only the second year of running it, and we've now got over 100 teams entered wanting to play in it as well. So, I say there is definitely interest around.
What is next for you? How do you see this evolving? What's the relationship now with your NA, with your national association? Is England Hockey picking up on this, or do they entrust all of the indoor hockey to your organization, or how is this evolving?
So what we're trying to do is there's lots of little private things happening in England. So there's like the Essex Indoor League, which the year before COVID restrictions came into place, we signed the agreement with them to organise that. So we're trying to coordinate all of the private indoor going on and bring it together under the one umbrella. From that, it makes it easier to then get sponsors and make it more like a business rather than lots of little things going on. England Hockey still run their Super Sixes. They do their national championships for the under 16s, 18s and the adults. We're actually now starting to work at the regional level, so the level down below the national league bit, to work with the new areas to help them run their programs. So then those events, the winners from that will then go through into the England Hockey competitions. So we do work closely with the governing bodies and stuff. So and I think we work alongside them, so it works nicely.
Okay, perfect. Sounds like a very cool project. If somebody else would want to start with a birthday party for their team and grow that a little bit and help grow the game of indoor hockey in their region, what would your tips be? What are the dangers and what are the good tips that you want to share with them?
If you're starting out, I think it's the same as what I said earlier. Start small, don't go too big. Obviously, I think you kind of see all these pictures of all these big events going on, but you have to start small, start off easy. Don't overcommit yourself as well, I think. And do what works for you in your area. Because we used to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, but the teams didn't like it. So we just started losing people out. So we found 9 o'clock start works and people were happy to turn up. So kind of, it's going to be unique to everywhere you go, and just, you kind of need to make it work for you, and just say, don't go too big too soon.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thanks for that story. Let's move on to Ross. PSI, Pro Series Indoor. It started off in South Africa. It grew very, very big. It's now also in Europe. Tell us a little bit, why did PSI get started?
Yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, great to hear from everyone and everyone's different stories. I think it's most important, the first thing is PSI is a business. Although it's run like an organization, sometimes those bank balances don't always reflect the amount of time and effort they gets put into indoor hockey. It started off by a man called Simon Martin, and basically he wanted more indoor hockey. He was in love with the sport, and he wanted a way to do it. So he hosted an under-18 school tournament, 4 teams in a municipal venue, which was actually a military base, that had a wheelchair basketball / netball plastic. It used to be called the cheese grater because that's how rough it was if you fell. But it started off in there. It's then the following year, everyone else is going to go happen again. So he did it again. But that time he ran a bit of a clinic or a way for an extra goalkeeper coaching. He was a national goalkeeper himself. And basically 15 years later, sorry, that was back in 2005. 15 years later, it's grown to 5,000 players across the country, Zimbabwe, a few in the UK, Ireland, and Namibia. And yeah, basically it's a franchise system. So there's various people around the country, around all those areas that I've mentioned. They can run each franchise kind of how they want to. The one expectation is that they have to attend the national tournaments. That's kind of that's the cherry on top, or the thing that every player wants to achieve. The latest indoor tournament we had was 17 indoor courts. I'm extremely jealous of seeing Madeline's facility there because we aren't blessed with a facility that can host that amount of courts. I know full well how much time and effort it takes to lay those courts, and my back has definitely taken a couple of years off my life because of it. Our facilities range from fantastic wooden surfaces, indoor courts, to concrete surfaces in the middle of nowhere that are municipal and therefore in the heart of the Western Cape of Cape Town.
How do you deal with? But are these teams, when you have an event, the teams are all playing on the same kind of a court, same kind of a flooring, or do they switch locations? So have to deal with different floorings every time as well.
Yeah, Ernst, I think if the franchises are listening to this, I think they're going to go, he's onto it. Okay, so it's a massive thing. We have, for example, of those 17 courts, you have vinyl, you have wood, you have concrete, you have the plastic sheeting, and you have different sizes. So, for example, all the way back to what Alistair said in terms of the ideal sizing, if you want 17 courts in the size we have a 40-meter monster to a 28-meter school facility that the wall is about 1.5 meters from the baseline. That's probably even being quite
generous.
Generous there. But what we usually do is say, for example, our under 13 C section might play at a smaller court compared to our under 18 A section, which would basically be the next step after that would be national level. So most of the time, the facilities, it's a 4-day tournament, and the teams rotate the section, goes to a different tournament every day. But we try to keep them on a similar style, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Another positive is by rotating them around the Western Cape, they could be on the coastline, they could be inland, they could be closer to the mountain. And therefore, when they do travel to Cape Town, we've had a couple of teams come from outside the country as well. Obviously, Zimbabwe, Namibia are examples. They then get to see the Western Cape and don't just necessarily sit in one venue from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 4 days in a row. So there's pros and cons, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How do you deal with being a truly commercial organization? This is a for-profit organization. How do you deal with the demands or with the NA with your South African organization, or Ireland or the UK for those events?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a brilliant question. I think the biggest issue would be that the federation or the national organization can never not have as much money as someone that is making money from their sport. That's always going to be the question that they're asking. So I think it's always about that relationship and that conversation. How it started in the beginning, SAHA, South African Hockey Association, didn't have the resources all the time to really focus on indoor hockey. It was kind of sitting there. Simon Martin had the passion, had the time, and ultimately given his life to the game for that amount of time and and grown the company. As the two have kind of constantly just increased, they've kind of stayed side by side. The biggest way that we've looked to obviously link up is that we host the national teams during our tournaments. So, for example, we were fortunate enough that we could bring international players to play against them. So this way, it gives us entertainment in the evening for all our spectators, but it also benefits the national team because everything's volunteer, everything's self-funded. So if these players can now come to a tournament, play against the best players like Robert Tichers, etc. in the world, but at the same time, then they don't have to pay a cent because they can umpire during the day or maybe run tech table or merely just be around to mentor these younger players. It's kind of like it's mutually beneficial. Naturally, the federation will always want to get a hold on it. And I think that's always the difficulty as to how much we can give before we don't make overheads, make salaries, pay for the facilities, because all these things cost money. So to anyone that's starting out and potentially concerned about that, I would say you have to have that conversation and see, are they willing to grow the game? And if their answer potentially is not really, well, then you kind of got to do it yourself if you're passionate about it, and then maybe deal with it or chat about it later.
Great, absolutely. So, what's the biggest success that you've encountered with PSI? What would you rate your biggest success in all those years?
Honestly, and this might even come from me personally, looking at the two teams that we were going to be sending to the World Cup in Liège this year. If you look at the two teams that were put out, especially on the men's side, I think it's 80% of those players have all come through the PSI system. They might have started playing at 11 years old, and now they're 21. And they've literally, if you look at the Kasim brothers, just an example, they're hitting the world stage. They would have played for a small franchise in the Western Cape, and they would have played more indoor hockey than anyone else in the country just because they started so young. And I think that would probably be it makes it all worth it, all that time that you put in, because these players they've had a platform to go and compete at the highest stage. And I think, PSI might have facilitated that. Obviously, it's all down to their own effort. We can't take credit for that, but it's just a platform that they can play more. And that's the dream.
Absolutely. How do you see that the indoor hockey can benefit the outdoor hockey in your country, and vice versa, probably? Yeah,
Ernst, again, great question. I think I was looking at Nacho's indoor facility there that he had, and the game is chaos. It's meant to be. Our session design is meant to be chaos. So when you put players on courts with a wall, a tree, no lines, that's maybe why we then start realizing the Spanish have such amazing flair. It's just an example. But if you can just play off a wall, you can definitely play off a perfect metal board that costs 75,000 euro. I think that's probably to me the biggest benefit. Obviously, if you do have that fantastic facility, it just, in terms of zonal defense, understanding lines, working with your goalkeeper, baseline defense, all those areas are so key. And you can't really hide an indoor, so you get so much hockey. Where maybe in outdoor you get stuck up as right forward and get told to go stand in the opposite circle. You can't really do that in indoor, so you get so much ball. And you also, a coach has 7 or 8 players to coach compared to 20 or 18. You get more contact time, and you can really kind of grow the individual a lot better.
Absolutely. Great story as well. Let me bring on a question here from the audience here. We've got Harry. So a question for all, as he states here. How do you promote access to regular training at the local level? Because these tournaments are all amazing, but he's struggling to find the facility to train on a regular basis and to fit it into his outdoor situation. So, Ross, you were talking. Let's start maybe with you, and then we'll go through the others for the same question.
Yeah, agreed. Harry, an example, last night I trained with the Irish women from 9 p.m. till 10:30 at night, because that's the only time we could get an indoor facility. It's one of the situations where if there's a demand for it and it's beneficial, you kind of have to find a way to make it work. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out because, again, sometimes you just can't find a facility. But to me, blitzes, clinics, once you can kind of pre-book or anticipate when you can host an event, you can get into a calendar, and therefore people can prioritize it. I think we all know the worst thing for parents is, by the way, we're doing something on Saturday, and they're like, we've only getting told 4 days in advance. So if you can find a facility, firstly, that you can create a relationship with, where you say, they're more than likely going to take this booking, maybe pay a deposit if you have those funds, and then get that out early. A couple of blitzes across the season when there are gaps. And even if you cater then for the players that are just below elite level, a lot of those players don't actually play a lot of hockey. It's usually your A sides. And again, I'm generalizing here, but usually your A sides, they're the ones that are doing national, interprovincial clubs. Sometimes the lower teams don't.
Okay. Harry, you're on stage now. If you want to follow up on the question there.
I will. Firstly, hi, Ross. I haven't seen you since our coaching conference in the summer. But,
been too long.
Too long, I know, mate. To all of you, it's the battle I have, and it's I don't think it's unique to England, but we find with the school kids, they are taken to so many other sports as well. And so I love what you're saying there about, finding that late time on a Wednesday night to find them to train. And with the senior men, I do that at club, and we sneak it in wherever we can. When I've got under 12s up to under 18s who have rugby trials, they've got netball trials, they've got cricket nets at night, they've got everything else going on. It's a real struggle to try and find the time to not only go, here's outdoor at school, here's outdoor at club and county and representation, here's also indoor now as well. And the take up for it, they love it, but they physically can't find the time through overtraining, through everything else, to be able to balance themselves. So I guess it's from what you've seen, especially the stuff that Madeline showed in America, which I'm drooling at that court. Like, that just looks unbelievable. But with that is, how on earth do you find the time to balance kids' expectations and parents' expectations as well at junior level representation?
Madeline, you want to take on?
Sure. I mean, it's definitely a tough dilemma, but I will definitely say, Harry, you're not alone. I think a lot of clubs in the U.S. have that same struggle. And I think it's just getting a little creative in your programming and how, and this is just suggestions for sure. But, maybe you do tie in indoor in the non-indoor season just to start really getting the drive for it. Because kids are not going to, choose which sports they want to go to until they really find, what they want to do. So I think if you can expose them to as much as possible, so maybe that does include, having some summer training, but maybe you just have an indoor practice, and you have them working on those, smaller finesse skills, and not, big hit, ball hitting, that kind of stuff. And that might be the best thing to try to boost that. But, as Ross said, finding a good, partner in a facility that can be flexible with you and is willing to work with you and maybe even, sponsor you as their indoor club, I think is a good avenue as well. And working with your schools too. So maybe that is you picking up your stick and saying, hey, can I come to, I guess your physical education class exists, I'm sure. And if you could, be a guest in this high school system and give, an hour demo of what indoor hockey is. We in the United States, we do have, our Grow the Game funding initiative, where we send, smaller organizations, clubs, sticks and balls. Indoors, obviously a little different. We did something, it's more like floor hockey where you have, and this is just calling my demographic, similar to ice hockey, but so it looks like an ice hockey stick, but it's floor hockey. So there's even, those baby steps that you can get them involved into just using the ball and a stick on the floor. That's what I got.
Will, what's your take on this?
I do kind of agree with what's been said. I think we need to look more on the out season. I think if you aim for the summer, you find that sport tools are more available because everyone wants to be outside. So you have to be the crazy one to go inside. And that, but it is difficult to, as I say, to compete with the other sports. And I think, from my experience, and obviously Harry's from Bedford, it's kind of more of a sport thing over here. I think that hockey is kind of fighting against the other sports anyway, outdoor and indoor, so it is a bit more challenging. It's, I say, aim for out of season and getting early. I think try and get into your schools, and as it's already been said, target them. Like I was saying earlier, we started off at a young age group, we grew it through the older age groups as the demand was there. And I think that's, if you can target the younger ones first, hopefully then it will encourage them to stay on and keep doing it throughout the year or throughout the seasons.
Nacho, any thoughts on this? Because you have a lot of kids from the schools, exactly, also. So probably also with active in different sports. How do you deal with that and get the facilities and the time to get them to training as well, not just playing the tournaments?
But I think here is a little bit different because here is, I think it's easier for us to find an indoor court than an outdoor water-based pitch. So we have a structure that every players in Spain, they play indoor and outdoor. And during the year, you can find a moment like 2 months for each category, each level to play indoor season. So we have a structure that from if the season begin on September, from September to December, we play under 16 in the season, and the rest of the hockey family are in outdoor. From January to March, they are the seniors and the under 18 players playing indoor season as the European competitions. And from February, March to May, you can play with the under 14. And also, I forget, under 12 players play at the same time that under 16 in the beginning of the season, from September to December. So if you do in that way, you can like reserve or get one indoor venue for all the season, and you are putting different categories during the year, but always are you have like a slot in a week closed for you for hockey, and probably it's more easy to find a venue for the whole year, that if you want only play 1 month, and almost at least here is easy to find somewhere for rent if you will rent it into the whole year. So I don't know if maybe it could work to Harry. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think be creative with your seasons. I think that's a very good idea as well. Harry, did we answer your question? Do you have follow-ups?
No, just to say thank you. Spot on from all of that. It's nice to hear it from 4 different backgrounds and from 4 different people, but it's also nice to hear that the struggles are the same with other people as well. And
Absolutely.
That gives a lot of confidence to someone who's trying to start something and trying to build something up. And obviously seeing the size that you guys have got it to is really impressive. And Nacho, especially from what you've done, where it's nothing and you've got trees in the middle of courts, we're quite fortunate here to not have as hard as that. So thank you, all of you.
No, thank you, Benjamin and Harry, for the questions here. Do you have other questions from people? You can raise your hand or ask the questions in the Q&A. Now is the time. Let me ask all of you guys, the 4 of you, one final question. What would be your number 1 tip for anybody who wants to start whatever the project, indoor hockey related project they want to start? If this is club related or commercially related, or they just want to do tournaments or a league, what would be your number 1 tip for somebody who is launching into the adventure of creating indoor hockey for their country? Ross, let's maybe start with you.
Yeah, and again, a simple one. Just start. If you have 6 kids on an indoor court and you do technical work and play a 3-on-3, they'll have a time of their life. If you have 5,000, jeepers, then good luck. But I think it's, just start.
Great. Absolutely agree there. Madeline, what would be your number 1 tip?
Oh boy, it's a combo between having fun, with Ross says, and making it a good experience. But I've always been the believer: if you have the facilities, people will come. So if you can, even if it's of a tree in the court type scenario, if you have it and you make it a fun and desirable event, people will want to play and want to figure out what it's about.
Absolutely. Will, what would be your number one tip?
Think outside the box. You don't always need necessarily what you're being taught. They say it's indoor hockey, as we heard. It could be played outdoors. You don't need the rebound boards. There's lots of costs involved. There are ways around it. You just need to think it through.
Great one. Nacho, one final tip from you.
I think I'm in the way of Ross. Just start and just don't be afraid to go to another new school or new group of kids, or don't be afraid about that, and try to be passionate and ask for them to bring another friend the next day. If they enjoy the one day, they have to bring with another friend the next day. And it's
bring a friend is something that always works in any kind of situation. Very good tip, Nacho, there. Guys, thank you very much. We've been talking almost for 90 minutes now, so we are going to wrap it up here, unless there are some people with a last minute question that want to pop up and raise their hand. Now is the moment. Otherwise, people, we want to thank you for your time, and especially, obviously, our coaches here in the panel, Nacho, Ross, Will, and Madeline. That was absolutely great. Mike, I'm going to bring you back on stage in case that you want to have a last say on this as well. Thanks, everybody. What we'll do now is probably we'll end this session after final word of Mike here. And then you have the possibility to enter into the lounge where you see some tables where we can meet up and have some more one-on-one questions if you need. Other than that, already from my end, Nacho, Ross, Will, and Madeline, thank you very much for your time and insights here. This was very inspirational. Mike.
Thank you. And yeah, I just echo what Ernst said. A massive thank you to the four of you or to the five of you, Alistair, as well. Really do appreciate your time and your sharing. I know that we had chats before this call, and there's probably a million other bits of advice and information that you could share about how we can implement indoor hockey. I would just challenge anyone who's listening, anyone who's here, to try not to think about the things and the reasons why you can't do indoor hockey, but try and think about solutions as to how you can. You don't need indoor sticks. You can use outdoor sticks. You don't even need boards to start with. Just play on a flat surface and start from there. Harry, if you've got a 5-court sports hall at your school, which I know you have, maybe you have a chat with Will and he can bring in some kit for you and set up a competition at a weekend or on an evening, or even as part of the school activities, and that gets it going. And I know that those of us coach and those of us play know that actually at the end of the day, everyone wants to play a game of hockey. They don't necessarily want to train. Training's great, but actually if you just say, hey, come along at this time, we'll put some teams together and play some indoor hockey, they will be there. I guarantee it. So there's always solutions. I think often we try to find a reason why we can't do it, but we certainly can. And indoor hockey, as Ernst said at the very beginning, doesn't have to be indoor. It can be outdoor. It needs to be on a flat surface. But that really is it. So finally, just a massive thank you, Ernst, to you once again for orchestrating this session. It will be. It has been recorded, so we'll make it available afterwards. But yeah, as he said, we'll go into the lobby now, and there's an opportunity to join some tables, ask some questions that you perhaps didn't want to ask in this with everybody else here at once. So yeah, Ernst, thank you very much. Back to you.
With pleasure, Mike. So everybody, thanks very much. We're going to close this session here now. That means that everybody in the audience will automatically go back to the lounge, where you can find a spot at the table, and we will join you there and see if there are some one-on-one questions that need to be answered there. And otherwise, thanks everybody for joining in. And like Mike and all of the panelists here said, let's just make it happen, and let's just put indoor hockey back on the map here. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.